First of all, I was told to talk a little bit about the previous the election that took place about a month ago. Uh, so I'd like to do that, and I have some prepared remarks. But I will say this: that I believe that the relationship between the U.S., Greece, and Cyprus, and some of their neighbors, such as Israel and Egypt, has never been stronger. And I've focused on the Eastern Mediterranean issues for many, many years, being the chairman of the Hellenic Israel Alliance, but also the Hellenic Caucus in general. So, having close ties to Marco Rubio, who will be the next Secretary of State, and President Trump and his administration, members of his cabinet, what have you, chief of staff, I think that I can play a large role in any policy decisions with regard to the Eastern Mediterranean, particularly Greece and Cyprus and Israel. So I do have some prepared remarks. We're celebrating the historic voter turnout across our country that gives President Trump a clear mandate to restore an American first agenda. And I will tell you, this was we had two major hurricanes in the South, so we were concerned, a lot of damage, and we were concerned about the voter turnout. But the turnout was incredible, which it should be in every election, whether it's whoever you vote for. People should get to the polls as soon as possible. We do have the early voting now, and we have the same day voting, and then the mail-in voting for absentee voting, particularly for seniors. So this monumental victory also sends a clear message to our allies and adversaries around the world that the new day is dawning in America. America is, at its core, a center-right country, and Americans are sick and tired of a progressive liberal agenda that has resulted in the decline of America economically, politically, and internationally, in my opinion. We are ready to move forward and to reestablish a new tone. President Trump's record of unwavering leadership speaks for itself. His domestic achievements include unleashing American energy dominance, removing regulatory barriers that hamper innovation and growth, and passing historic tax cuts for the middle class. Now, we're going to make the attempt of making those tax cuts through reconciliation permanent, because they do expire next year, 2025. He also made significant progress in securing our border and enforcing the rule of law. President Trump is a disruptor, as most people know. He didn't run for president to make friends. In Washington, D.C., he ran to restore America's greatness. Many in the establishment feel threatened when everyday Americans demand accountability of their elected officials. As a result, President Trump has been the target of hateful rhetoric and relentless villainization. His strong leadership on the international stage helped provide stability and kept our adversaries in check. His relentless pursuit of the America First agenda kept Americans safe, facilitating economic prosperity for all and contributing to for global stability. In our country, the United States, November is traditionally a time for reflection and giving thanks, as Thanksgiving is next Thursday. I'm humbled and so grateful to have been given the opportunity to continue representing my constituents in the House of Representatives. I represent the central part of Florida, the west central part of Florida. I'm also thankful that the majority of Americans spoke with a resounding voice about their desire to change the direction of our country. I look forward to working alongside President Trump and my colleagues in Congress to create a more prosperous future for our Americans, for all Americans, and our allies. And our allies, I want to emphasize that. I'm also thrilled that my good friend and fellow Floridian, Senator Marco Rubio has been named the incoming Secretary of State by President Trump-elect Donald Trump. Senator Rubio is an America First leader and has proven himself to be thoughtful and an effective policy maker, particularly when it comes to foreign affairs. He understands the importance of leading from a position of strength. He understands the threats posed by our adversaries and knows how to build consensus with our allies. As a Cuban American whose family was forced to flee their homeland, Senator Rubio is also acutely aware of the evils of socialism and brutal regimes. And with regard to Cyprus, he can identify because, again, I can identify as well, but more Marco, because, we were forced, my family, on my dad's side, was forced to leave the occupied area. In 1974, Marco's family was forced to leave Cuba. So, as a co-chair of several congressional caucuses, including the International Religious Freedom Caucus, Hellenic Affairs, and the Hellenic Israel Alliance, I'm particularly encouraged by what Senator Rubio's appointment will mean for U.S. interests and alliances in the Eastern Mediterranean. Senator Rubio was my partner in authoring the Eastern Mediterranean Security and Energy Partnership Act and the U.S.-Greece Defense and Interparliamentary Partnership Act. Because of these laws, we were able to remove the arms embargo on Cyprus. We want to make it permanent, at least get it to 5 years instead of expiring every year. And we paved the way for the first strategic dialogue with Cyprus that took place last month. These initiatives strengthen the defense partnerships and multilateral security efforts between Cyprus, Greece, Israel, and the United States. In addition to championing these measures during the first administration with the help of Secretary Pompeo, President Trump held Turkey accountable for its violations of religious freedom against the Patriarchate and other religious minorities. You recall the incident with Pastor Brunson, and I had an opportunity to speak directly with the president on that. In fact, the Trump administration was the first to impose sanctions against Turkey. Unfortunately, to Greece's detriment, I believe the Biden administration has proven to be really more of a friend towards Turkey, even though I think that they do realize the significance of Cyprus and Greece as partners in the Eastern Mediterranean. But they did allow Turkey to possess Russia's S-400, the missile system which threatens Cyprus, Greece, and U.S. interests in the Eastern Mediterranean. And then, of course, the pipeline was shut down, and I was very, very upset about that. I know the second Trump administration, with Marco Rubio in charge of the State Department, will continue to hold Turkish President Erdogan accountable. Greece has been an incredible partner regarding our mutual security and prosperity, and we're seeing Cyprus become such a partner as well. They have been outstanding. With Secretary Pompeo, in this case, Rubio in the new administration, we will continue to grow our defense and energy cooperation in the Eastern Mediterranean and Southern Europe, specifically the LNG projects and greater connectivity for the region. A more connected and united Eastern Mediterranean will result in more prosperity, stability, and peace. I know that Senator Rubio will make a tremendous Secretary of State who will prioritize American interests around the globe, strengthen partnerships with our allies, and help facilitate stability and peace wherever possible. I cannot wait to get started in working with this administration. The relationship between Greece and the United States and Cyprus is very strong currently, stronger than it's been in many, many, many years. and it will only continue to thrive under a second Trump presidency, in my opinion. And I will assist to make that happen. Those are my opening remarks. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, Congressman, and I'm sure people in the room are very reassured by what you said about US Cypriot relations as well as US Greek relations. I just would like to ask you one question about a theme that has emerged during this conference, which is, how to put this, it's a sort of feeling that perhaps under a new Trump administration, there is a possibility, we might call it a risk, that the United States might pull back from Europe in the defense area. President Trump is well known because of what he said in the past about the value of NATO, about the fact that the United States is seen as bearing an unfairly heavy share of the burden of defending Europe and of wanting European countries to spend much more on their own defense. Do you think that we Europeans are correct in thinking that this might happen? And what should we do about it?
But, I think listening to press around the world and some of the rhetoric that's coming from DC is counterproductive. So that's why I'm here to reassure you that will not be the case. I believe, as you know, President Trump has emphasized, obviously, in the first administration about NATO countries paying their fair share. And I'll add that Greece was the only country paying their fair share of the 2% for many, many years during very difficult economic times for Greece. And we've reiterated that to the President Trump, for many years. And actually, Prime Minister Mitsotakis told him in the Oval Office. I was present at that time. Pay their fair share. I don't think that we're going to see us withdrawing our presence in Europe. I just don't see that happening. I am very pleased with the appointments so far with regard to foreign affairs, as I said, Senator Rubio. And then also, I think that we have a solid pick in the National Security Advisor as well with Representative Walsh. They're both very good friends of mine from Florida, as you know. So I don't see that happening. I really don't. I think he realizes the significance of NATO and his European allies. So again, I will hopefully play a major role, and it's significant that we continue to play a role in the Eastern Mediterranean and Europe, of course, all of Europe.
That's very, very reassuring. The other question that has come up once or twice in this conference, and indeed in other discussions, is Ukraine. Ukraine's fight against Russian aggression. And in that area, again, President Trump has said he wants to settle that conflict perhaps on day one. And again, you find some opinion in parts of Europe that in the past, President Trump seems to have been a bit too nice to Vladimir Putin. He likes a strong leader. He thinks Vladimir Putin is a strong leader. That doesn't mean, I hope, that he will sell Ukraine down the river. But there is a sort of fear in parts of Europe, particularly in places like Poland, that maybe the new administration might not support Ukraine as much as we Europeans would like to do. I wonder what you think of that possibility.
Well, I mean, I think that, like you said, he's not going to let Ukraine down, and he's also said that he wants to settle this. He even said prior to taking the office as president of elect, and I think we should settle this. There's no question. But obviously, we take Ukraine's interests in mind. President Trump does. He's friends with a lot of the leaders, our adversary leaders, meaning China and Russia, of course, Putin, and others. Erdogan, what have you. But I think that he's really tough. And I know for a fact that he's tough as far as negotiations are concerned, because he's talked to me about these issues. So, it's part of his negotiation strategy. But I think he's going to be very tough on these tyrants that are our adversaries. So no, I think you look at the past, look what he's done, look at his record, and that's more indicative of what's going to happen in the future. And I believe that we will, obviously take Ukraine's interests at heart.
Okay, and my last question was going to be about relations with Turkey, and indeed with Erdogan. And I wonder what you think, where they might go. I mean, do you think that the new administration will apply some pressure to Turkey to be a more responsible member of the international community? It is a member of NATO, of course. It wants to join the European Union. But Turkey has been quite difficult as a partner for many of the last few years. And I wonder what you think where you think that will go.
Well, as you've seen in the past, Senator Rubio, Secretary of State Rubio, has spoken out, against Erdogan. So the Turks aren't very, very happy with his appointment. On specific issues, he's spoken out. So I think that might be an indication of what will happen in the future. So again, they haven't been a very reliable ally, that's for sure. And I don't think they're going to get away with what they've gotten away with in the past. That's my opinion. Again, I will have some input with Secretary Rubio, President Trump, and our National Security Advisor, Mike Walls.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, Congressman. That was very interesting and I think somewhat reassuring. So thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.